Hey guys, so in today's video we're going to be looking at the Neewer / Meike, though under different brands, 35mm f1.7. You can see how tiny it is. I bought this thing back, I'd say in late 2020. At the time I was looking for a 35mm lens, but I didn't want to spend a lot of money. So I decided to pick this thing up. It was only, I think, like $70 when I bought it. Super cheap. And I didn't really have high hopes for it, given the cost. But I've used it on and off since then, and it's honestly a fantastic lens for the price. So yeah, I'm gonna try to make this review pretty, simplistic and fast. But yeah, let's just dive right into it. So yeah, obviously this thing is tiny, and that's one of the biggest things I like about it. The fact that I can actually just put this in my pocket. And if I'm going out for a long day of shooting and I'm gonna cycle through a couple of different lenses, I can toss this thing in my camera bag and it takes up pretty much no space. In fact, the dimensions of it, I believe, it weighs about 6 ounces, which is about 170 grams, I think, and it's about I think less than an inch and a half long, which I think is around 3.5 centimeters for you metric PP. So yeah, this thing is microscopic, and I don't know if you've watched any of my other content or you've read any of the content on my site. I absolutely love tiny setups, and this guy does the trick. It's amazing. From a build quality perspective, you might expect a lens that's $70 and this tiny. You might expect it to be kind of cheap and flimsy. Honestly, it's not exactly the case. A lot of these cheap Chinese lenses can be a little bit hit or miss with build quality and durability, but I haven't had any issues with this. I mean, it's made completely out of metal, first bay, which is awesome, and I've bumped it against stuff. I've just tossed it in my bag haphazardly many times, and I haven't had any issues. I mean, the focusing ring still spins perfectly. It's pretty scratch free. There's no dust underneath the glass or anything like that. The only issue is there is I guess, tiny little dent in the lens cap here, but it doesn't affect usability. You can see slides right back on, no issue. So yeah, that's been fantastic. And I guess going forward on that subject, there's obviously no weather resistance or weather sealing. That being said, given that it's so cheap, I have taken it out in snow and rain sometimes. Nothing extreme, but light conditions, and I haven't had any issues with it. So it's not weather sealed officially, but it should be able to stand up to some light abuse. So yeah, I don't know, man. For the price, not bad. No complaints in terms of build quality. And then in terms of image quality, for $70, I'm not disappointed. Like I said, I've had this thing for a couple of years, and I've never looked at a picture that I've taken and been like, that's too soft. I'll just put the pictures up on the screen so you can judge for yourself, because obviously that's way better than me just saying this thing is soft or this thing is sharp. So here's the pictures. I have noticed that shooting wide open at f1.7, you tend to get corners that are a little bit soft, but stopping down just a bit, even to 5.6, you get consistent sharpness from edge to edge. Pretty impressive. Maybe not as good as the Sigma 30mm or another mega super sharp lens, but for $70, no complaints from me there. And on that subject, the only optical anomalies, I guess you could say, that this thing struggles with is extreme lens flare. So if you're shooting into the sun, you get a massive I don't know how to explain it, but a massive patch of flaring right in the center of the frame. I put some pictures here so you can see what I'm talking about. But yeah, besides that, I mean, this thing is kind of a beast, man. It's great. No complaints from me in terms of image quality besides that, extreme flaring issue. So yeah. And then the final thing I want to touch on is focusing and the cute little aperture ring here. So manual focus on this thing feels fantastic, honestly. I've used a lot of vintage lenses, and if you've ever used a vintage lens before, you know that the feeling of focusing just, it's amazing. This thing gets pretty close to that. I find the focusing ring spins pretty nicely. It has good response, and it has hard stops. You can see it's about a complete 180 degree turn right there. feels great to use. And then the aperturing, obviously this is a completely manual lens. There's no electronic connections to the camera, so you have to spin the physical aperture ring to change it. And it's pretty good. I have bumped it out of position a couple of times, but typically it's stiff enough to where you shouldn't mess it up too much. And then just a quick note on that, it is declicked, and what that means is there's no like clicky bits when you change the aperture. That's mostly up to personal preference. I like a clicked aperture myself, but I know a lot of people don't like clicked apertures, so there you go. But yeah, before I end my reviews, I usually like to present a couple of alternatives. The main alternative to this would be the classic Sigma 30mm. You've most likely seen it. It's an iconic lens for Sony APS-C. That lens definitely is better in pretty much every single way, except this thing is substantially cheaper and it's tiny. So if you're looking for something that's not going to break the bank and you want a discreet little lens, it's just a joy to use. I mean, like manually focusing on this thing is great. I love it. Then you can't really go wrong with this. I mean, it's super cheap, creates amazing pictures, and it fits in your pocket. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I wanted to keep this review pretty, sweet and simple. There's no reason to make you sit here and watch me talk about this lens for 15 minutes when I could do it for, 2 minutes. So yeah, there's an Amazon link in the description. Obviously that gives me a commission at no extra cost to you. So yeah, if you enjoyed this video and this was actually helpful to you, thank you, I guess. I shot it in my office and it took me like 10 minutes to do. But yeah, you can subscribe, like the video, YouTube stuff. Thanks again for watching, guys.